Zoning Board of Adjustment, October 17.
Turn on your microphone.
Good evening, everyone at home. Welcome to our meeting for the special meeting for October 17, 2022. Adequate notice of this meeting of the Old Bridge Township Zoning Board of Adjustment has been provided in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act at least 48 hours prior to the commencement of this meeting by prominently posting in the municipal complex an announcement giving the time, the date, the location, and the agenda of this meeting, also by mailing such announcement to the Home News and Tribune. Finally, by filing an announcement with the municipal clerk, and it is also posted on the township's website. Ms. C., could we have a roll call, please?
Chairman Sullivan?
Here.
Mr. Connor?
Here.
Mr. Stoner?
Here.
Ms. Chevalier is absent. Mr. Scogno?
Here.
Ms. Andrews?
Here.
And Ms. Testaverde and Mr. Zykowski are both absent. Mr. Dasty?
Here.
Mr. Hart? Here. Ms. Sawant?
Here.
And myself, Ms. C. Thank you.
Thank you. For housekeeping issues, I would ask everyone here in the courtroom, I know everybody has a cell phone, please mute it so we don't interrupt those who will be testifying before the board this evening. Also notifying all that this is being televised live on OBTV 15 as well as YouTube Live. When you speak up here this evening, is there going to be a second microphone, I hope? Do we have a? Yeah, okay, we could leave that on the table. These are directional mics, so please speak directly into them when you're testifying. Thanks. We have two applications this evening, board members. They both involve fire companies. We're going to take them a little out of order, so we're going to start with Lawrence Harbor's first. I'll call that into the record, and then that'll be followed up for the final application of the evening by South Old Bridge Fire Company. So without any delay, and I think it sounds like the rains are coming. We'll start with 41-2022Z Lawrence Harbor Board of Fire Commissioners. This is in the EDO 1 zone, block 3.11, lot 3. Location is 20 Lawrence Parkway. This is signage for a existing firehouse. Peter Klauser, Esquire, for the applicant. Mr. Klauser.
Good evening, Mr. Chair. Thank you. Yes, Peter Klauser with the firm Hobble and Pape on behalf of the Lawrence Harbor Board of Fire Commissioners. On behalf of my client and myself, I want to thank everyone for coming out on a special meeting so that we can get these done for these guys. The Board of Fire Commissioners secured a grant from FEMA in order to be able to construct an LED sign on their existing firehouse. There is an existing sign there. I can see that Vina has the sign detail up on the screen. So that pylon is there. The sign will be taken off and replaced with the LED sign. And the thrust of the grant is to help membership, so get advertisement out there so we can get more volunteers, get more guys and gals to participate in the fire department. And then, of course, you're all familiar with it. I spoke with Vina earlier. You have a similar sign that you approved for the Cheesequake Firehouse. This one is just about the same size. I think it's actually a little bit smaller. Just to get to the point, I also talked to Vina. There were some conditions that this board placed on that Cheesequake approval. We went over some of them today. Vina, I think, will put those on the record. And, I think I recall from my conversation with her earlier today that all of those make sense for us as well. So I have Glenn here with me. He's the president of the Board of Fire Commissioners. So I just said a bunch of things that really don't go into the record. I'd like to get Glenn sworn, if he could share with you his relationship as the president and talk to you a little bit about the grant and what we're doing here.
Mr. Dasty.
Thank you, sir. Could you please raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm to testify truthfully in this matter before the board?
Yes.
And can we have your name again, sir? Speak right into the mic.
Yes, my name is Glenn. Yes, my name is Glenn Perex.
Can you spell your last name for us?
Perex, P-E-R-H-A-C-S.
Thank you, sir.
So, Glenn, just share with the board, what's your relationship to the Board of Fire Commissioners?
I'm the president of the Board of Fire Commissioners now for the third year. I've been a member of the company as well for 20 years now. The main purpose for the sign is like you said, we retained the grant for the monies for this, and it's to retain members, get members as well. The sign can be used additionally, as in the one set of paperwork we have, that 75% of the sign advertisement has to be for membership to get members. Other uses we'd like to use it for is coordinating with the town is amber alerts, silver alerts, as well as emergency things, flooding going on in the town, different routes to take as we are on 20 Lawrence Parkway there. it's a good spot to really advertise stuff for that.
Now, you've engaged a company, so you're ready to go if you have the sign. I don't know, Mr. Chair, if this is the right time to bring it up or if we can deal with it after the fact, but should the board act favorably on the application tonight, is there an opportunity for the fire company to start moving forward at their own risk? Or do we need to wait for the resolution to be adopted next month? Sometimes we can get a correspondence over to the building department or something so we can move forward.
I'll let Mr. Dasty answer that.
Well, generally speaking, you should wait for the resolution. I mean, if the board were to act favorably tonight, we could, I could read a draft resolution into the record and formalize it, after the fact to help get you moving.
That would be, greatly
We would
appreciated.
be fine with that. We've done it before. Should it prevail.
I think-
And on C variances, that's one of the things that the board tries to do, so that way the applicant isn't waiting around an extra month in order
Sure.
to file for their permits.
Speaking of which, LED signs, as the board knows why we're here, are not permitted. So that's a bulk variance relief that we're asking for. And then the other variance relief is, I believe the sign is located 15.98 feet from the right-of-way, and it's supposed to be 20. So it's an existing pylon, so that's an existing condition. So that's the other bulk variance relief that we're requesting. So I would ask for the board itself, to take notice. I think you're allowed to do that in certain circumstances of the public benefit of such a sign, the public nature of the fire company, and that these variances would promote those particular uses. So, Glenn's available to answer any questions that you have. I know that Ms. Pina didn't issue a report, or Ms. Sawant didn't issue a report, but I believe, I know we spoke earlier about some of the conditions.
I would think everyone here on the board knows where the fire company is. If not, maybe the chief or the head of the fire commissioners could explain where they're located, what the sign is there. I'm aware of what it is.
Sure.
And it's just going to go on that same pylon.
Absolutely. Maybe you could just describe a little bit of that.
Yes, we're located in 20 Lawrence Parkway, which is right down the street from Lisa's Pizza, which is adjacent with Route 35, which is a pretty major road. What else is there?
Ravine,
You have a static sign there, right?
close to
Yeah, the
Ravine.
existing sign is an old static sign that just lit up in the background that hasn't been used in years, actually. We've been displaying stuff, but the lights haven't been used. They're so out of date. That sign is going to be removed and replaced with a double-sided color LED sign, in accordance with whatever they want to, different settings for different times. It is set up to have dimmable on either side of the sign, so if there's an issue, we can turn one side off, dim one side, do whatever we have to do to make in accordance with you.
Okay. You have any witnesses you're going to put on?
Only Glenn.
Let me go to the board and see if they may have questions about the sign itself.
Thank you.
I'll start on my left. Mr. Scogno, anything?
Excuse me. I'm wondering if 3 feet is big enough. I mean, sometimes you see these signs on the road and you could barely make it out. I was just wondering, it's a total of 5 feet, right? And 2 feet of it is your name, the fire department, and 3 feet of it is the visual. So I'm just wondering, maybe it should be 4 feet and not 3 feet.
Yeah, when we originally looked at the sign, for the distance and how close we are to the road, that's what the sign company suggested. The 3 of them, actually, that we had quotes for. But they said the 3 and it's 7 foot wide was pretty accurate sign for it,
Okay.
Ms. Sawant, what's your feeling?
The proposed sign is consistent with what the zoning board had approved for the Cheesequake Fire Commission as well. The sign is compliant based on the township's code. Now, in terms of the variances that are sought, as a planner, I would put on record the positive and the negative criterias to address that. It furthers the intent and the purpose of the municipal land use law, purpose A, because it relates to public health safety. And since the sign is existing, it's not like it's going to be a new sign. It's not going to be closer to the curb than what it is currently. So there are no negative impacts. So I would not have any issues with the sign. I would just recommend that should the board act favorably, we have the same conditions that we had with Cheesequake Fire Commission, especially because fast-moving signs or blinking signs are not permitted. So on record, and I know Mr. Clauser and I had gone over the conditions, and I didn't get a chance to speak to Mr. Dasty, but one of the condition was that the text shall not change more frequently than 30-second interval, which I think is acceptable to the commission. The other conditions were, one, that the construction be completed within 1 year of the issuance of the building permit. The sign shall conform with what was presented to us tonight. The message center shall not flash, scroll, crawl, blink, or dazzle. No commercial advertisement. The message board is double-sided, and the same message will appear on both sides. And the sign, and I know this one, the last condition is something that Peter wanted to add on to this condition. What we had is the sign will include important public messages such as amber silver alerts and general public services at the request of the township. But based on the grant that was given to the fire commission, there was an additional requirement, correct?
I think it's that condition which you just read with the understanding that 75% of the sign time must be utilized for recruitment.
So I think that covers it all. And
That was the exact same that we did in Cheesequake, right?
But having said that, I don't believe the proposed sign will have any detriments to the zone plan or the master plan, and it is consistent otherwise with the township's requirement for signage in commercial zones. So I would support the sign.
And Mr. Clauser, that's perfectly okay with your
Yes, I
client,
went over
right?
those conditions with the board beforehand with Glenn, and we're fine with that. They all make sense.
Okay. Let me just see if anybody else has any questions. Mr. Stoner?
Yeah, I have one question. You said 75% is for members, right? The board. So what makes up the other 25%?
The other 25% could be stuff that's going on in town, stuff at the firehouse, some stuff we put over, check your smoke alarm, stuff like that.
Okay, I thought maybe that'd be part of the billboard, no?
What? Check your smoke alarm?
Yeah.
That'll be put across as a message as well.
And what
Different things.
And what color is the lights?
Full color.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Mr. Connor, anything? Ms. Andrews? Mr. Dasty, anything?
No, sir.
I have nothing else. Again, we did this, and I think everybody here on this board was here, I believe, for the one we put up, one we allowed for Cheesequake on Route 34. So if everything's going to be the same, I don't have an issue, and I don't think anybody on the board has an issue. That's the
I have nothing further.
extent.
I think it's pretty
Obviously, I have to open
straightforward.
up a public
Please
portion.
do. Yep.
Okay. I'll do that now. This is matter 41-2022Z. This is the Lawrence Harbor Firehouse. The applicant is the Board of Commissioners for a LED sign in the front to replace the static sign that they have there now. Is there anyone here in the room that wants to be heard on this matter? Please come forward or stand. No one has. I'll close the public portion. Final comments, sir?
None. Again, thank you. Thanks for your inquiries, and I would ask that the board act favorably on the application, and anything we can do to get it moving a little quicker for them, they're ready to go.
Yeah, I know that volunteerism has taken a back seat over the last few years, probably for the wrong reasons, but nonetheless, we do need health and safety, and we certainly need the fire department here to protect our citizenry as well as our police. So this can only benefit the town, and I can only hope that it brings more recruitment to you should the vote prevail. Other than that, I'll call for a vote.
Please do.
This is for C variance, Mr. Dasty for LED, not permitted. And
For LED, Mr. Chairman, and there are certain conditions of approval that Ms. Sawant's already placed on the record, that the construction will be completed within 1 year of the issuance of a building permit, that the signs will conform to the plans submitted here in support of the application. The text on the sign will not change more frequently than every 30 seconds. The message center shall not flash, scroll, crawl, blink, or dazzle. No commercial advertising. The message board is double-sided, and the same message will appear on both sides. The sign will include important public messages such as amber alerts, silver alerts, general public services as requested by the township. 75% of the messages will be devoted to membership drives for the board or the fire department as per the FEMA grant that was received. And I do believe those are all of the conditions.
Isn't the sign in the right-of-way? You need variance for the right-of-way.
Oh, yeah, one of the other variances also, excuse me, is that it's currently, it's an existing condition. It's 15.49 feet from the edge of the pavement, where 20 feet is required.
And everybody understands that, right, on the board?
Existing condition, it's, the sign's there right now as it is.
Right.
Or the pole is.
Well, certainly positive and negative criteria were met. There seems to be no negative criteria, and it could only be beneficial. Is someone in favor of moving this for the C variance?
Motion to approve, Connor.
Is there a second?
Second. Stoner?
Mr. Stoner seconds. Roll call, please.
Mr. Connor,
Yes.
Mr. Stoner,
Yes.
Mr. Scogno,
Yes.
Ms. Andrews,
Yes.
Chairman Sullivan.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Once again, good luck on that. And without volunteers, we can't exist. So thank you guys for all that you do for the community.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, we'll move right to our next application that is 15-2022Z, South Old Bridge Volunteer Fire Company, Inc. This is an EDO one as well. This is block 18081, lot 200, 201, 202, 203, 204, and 205, located 958 Englishtown Road. This is for an addition to an existing firehouse requiring a major preliminary and final site plan with C and D variance. Jared Pape, Esquire, representing the applicant. Mr. Pape.
How's this? There we go.
Much better.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, board members, board professionals. My name is Jared Pape. I'm an attorney with the law firm of Heilbrunn Pape, and I'm here appearing on behalf of the South Old Bridge Volunteer Fire Company. Before we begin the presentation, I'd like to ask the board attorney to confirm that the proofs of the legal notice that we provided was adequate to provide this board with jurisdiction this evening.
Yes, Mr. Pape, we discussed this earlier. The legal notice was submitted, sets forth the variances. I do understand that there was a typographical error with regard to the zone, because the zone has changed, but it's the same property address, same lot and block. Notice went out, as you indicated, to everybody within 200 feet. So the board has jurisdiction to hear the application, sir.
Thank you. Just would like to begin with a brief overview. So the applicant is seeking site plan approval and use variance relief in connection with a proposed addition to the fire station located at 958 Englishtown Road in Old Bridge. The goal is to create a modern facility to allow the fire company to continue to offer its services to the community as it has for decades. As you'll hear in testimony, one of the main reasons for the variance relief is to accommodate new, larger apparatus fire trucks that currently don't fit into the bays of the facility. We have several witnesses this evening. Lorelei Totten is the applicant's professional engineer. Patricia Miziak Peters is the applicant's architect. James Higgins is the applicant's professional planner. And Dennis Cahill is available. I do not plan to call him for direct testimony, but he is available. He is the current president of the South Old Bridge Volunteer Fire Company. So he's available to address any specific questions in case there are any. With that as a brief introduction, if we could move to our first witness, which would be Ms. Totten, who is setting up her exhibits.
You want to have a seat, ma'am, or? Okay, just, that's fine. I know what you mean. That's a good point. Mr. Pape, there's no court reporter here. We understand that the meeting is recorded, so if you need a transcript, you could order a copy of the CD and go from there.
Understood, yes.
Thank you. Ma'am, can you raise your right?
Waive your right to have a court reporter here, correct?
Correct.
Yes. Okay. Do you swear or affirm to testify truthfully in this matter before the board?
I do.
And can we have your name for the record, please, ma'am?
Lorelei Totten, T as in Tom, O-T-T-E-N, Crest Engineering Associates, Millstone Township, New Jersey.
Thank you, ma'am.
Ms. Totten has testified before this board. I'm familiar with her. I think most of the board members would be. We can, Mr. Pape will accept her credentials.
Thank you.
Just how long, for those watching at home, how long have you been licensed?
I've been licensed since 1983.
Thank you very much.
Ms. Totten, if you could begin just by identifying the location of the site and describing the characteristics of the site.
Yes, I have two exhibits here that were not submitted to the board previously. Do they need to be marked?
You were saying that they were not submitted previously?
The aerial view and the rendering on the aerial.
Okay, then we can mark those as A1 and A2.
Okay, thank you.
So A1 is?
It's an aerial display dated 10/14/22. Thank you. And this is A1, I assume?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much. And A2 is called site display, and it is also dated 10/14/22.
Thank you.
Okay, so the site is known as multiple lots, 200, 201, 202, 203, 204, 205, also known as 205.11 in block 18081 in Old Bridge Township, New Jersey, located with frontage on Old Bridge, English Town Road, as well as Appleby Avenue. The lot size is 0.43 acres, and all but 17% of it is covered by either pavement or building. The building is located kind of in the middle of the site. There's no definition, for the most part, between the driveways and Old Bridge English Town Road because of the need for a very wide exit for all the emergency vehicles, as well as along Appleby. I understand that the firehouse used to actually let out onto Appleby years ago. There is a lawn area in the corner of Appleby Avenue and Old Bridge. There is also a lawn area with a large tree in the rear of the property. There's a small shed that contains snow blowers and salt and things of that nature. And there's a staircase that goes up to the second floor on the north side of the property adjacent to a retaining wall, and on the other side is a automotive shop of some sort. The area on the north side is paved. The property slopes generally to Old Bridge Turnpike and to Appleby Avenue. There's a low spot near part of the building that protrudes out from the main portion in the back where there's an entrance, and water gets trapped in that area. Some of the downspouts from the building run over the land into the parking lot currently.
If I may. So most of the changes to the site relate to the building itself, as this is an addition to the building, and those changes will be covered by the applicant's architect. But in terms of the elements of the site plan, Lorelei, if you could just identify the various elements of the site plan, including the parking, drainage, lighting, landscaping. I know there's not too many changes to what's existing, with the exception, I think, of some improvements to drainage, but you could cover those items.
Yes, currently, in the front of the Appleby Avenue frontage of the site, it's all pavement. There's no delineated parking spaces. There are 2 doors into the facility as well as a gate into the rear yard and the framed shed. So the firefighters currently, when they come to the building, they park in a manner that they can get out of their vehicles, and they go in through one of the doors. There's a changing room inside, and they open their garage doors and take off to rescue and save and protect us. And so that is going to remain pretty much the same. You can't put any parking, obviously, on the Old Bridge Road side of the project because the emergency vehicles have to leave there. There's room for 4 in there. The reason, as you'll hear later, for needing this 20-foot long, it's kind of shown in red on my plan, extension, is to allow the larger ladder trucks to fit into the garage. I'm sure you're all aware that the trucks, the engines and the trucks have gotten bigger over the years. Used to be that the firemen used to be able to hang on the outside and go, and then the firemen had to be inside. Then the firemen needed to be inside in all of their protective gear, and the ladders got bigger and longer as the development got bigger. So the trucks are bigger, and they need to have room for their trucks inside. That's part of the reason for the improvements, and the other part is to have space for the members to do the non-firefighting things that they need to do, which will be described subsequently. So the proposal consists of extending the building out and putting a partial second floor on adjacent to the existing second floor. It also involves repairing and replacing the staircase to the second floor to provide adequate access. So underneath this landing to the staircase is some utilities. There's a sanitary sewer back there as well as water, and it's low spot. So what we've tried to do with this improvement is to create a swale along the side and bring the water that falls on the ground out to the front. So we're taking up the pavement that's along that area, removing some curb and bringing it out to the road. So while the plans do say that the future landscaping will be 0.17, it's going to be ever so slightly greater than that by a few square feet. So the other improvement's going to be is there's going to be a new roof put on the facility, and we've planned the roof gutters to be able to pick them up around the edges and bring them out to a storm sewer in the middle of Appleby. Now, the engineer suggested maybe we try to tie back into an inlet that's back at the back corner on Appleby, and I would be very happy to work with that because if we can save the firefighters some cost, that's the best way to go. So we'll be picking up the roof drains so that they don't drain onto the pavement and create additional potential for icing. In the back, they do go into the lawn area because there is a lawn area back there. So substantially, very little changes. We have to do a little bit of repaving across the front in order to tie the new building into the ground. That's really the substantial changes to the site. There's a comment about the dumpster that's actually not on the property. To bring it and to bring it out of the front yard would mean we'd have to bring it behind the edge of the building, and I don't believe that that is very easily possible. We did discuss that it could be located in front of the frame shed building because we don't have any parking there, so they can get in the doors, and there's room to put it there. Maybe put a painted box on the ground so that it knows, the people who are moving it know where to put it back. Because if you have worked with very many dumpster enclosures, those guys come to dump them. They don't even close the gates on the enclosures, let alone sometimes get the dumpsters back in the enclosures. So if we tell them where to put it, then it hopefully it'll stay there instead of migrating slowly down to the utility pole. And that's really the facts of the site plan itself.
I have nothing further of Ms. Totten. She's available to the board members or Ms. Sawant for any questions or comments.
Mr. Wan?
Sure. I know we had a couple of comments about parking, the spaces that are delineated on the side, and one of the recommendation was to remove that first parking stall, which is beyond the proposed building line, so that, and the purpose of that is you'll get a clear 12-foot driveway aisle between the curb and the first stall if we do so. And I know you're asking for a parking variance, but I think we have done some study of the historic imagery. At no given time were there more than 3 to 4 cars parked there. So although a parking variance is technically required, we will support that, but I think it would be best to eliminate that first stall as well as the last single stall which is in the corner, because if you look at the right-of-way, there is a fire hydrant right there and then the utility pole. So you can keep that as undelineated view stage. Could you just add those existing lights? You don't need to do an entire lighting analysis. It's just that show the location of the existing lights.
We'd be happy to do so.
And then the monument of the firefighters. It's an accessory within the front yard. Our ordinance requires that accessory structures be either within the side yard or the rear yard. Now, because of the addition, the monument will be moved further closer to the curb, but I think we can support that because that's the best location for it. Otherwise, it's going to impede the site circulation. Next, trash we talked about. There was a comment about the curb radii that the site plan doesn't show that. So during compliance plans, we would want to see that existing curb radii.
Absolutely, we can add that.
And just for the board's knowledge, the addition is proposed on an already improved area. So it's not going to exacerbate the existing impervious coverage. And that's why the stormwater management rules do not apply. They don't have to really do anything about stormwater management in this case. We talked about the drain and connecting it to the neighboring properties inlet. I think that will be a huge cost saving for the fire commission. So I think we should look into that. And apart from that, I think we are good. We covered everything. In terms of variances, the location of the trash receptacle, I would suggest just ask for a variance. And then we can work out the location, because you don't want to come back to the board if for some reason you're not able to avoid being in the front yard or the rear yard. Our effort should be to, screen it off, not have it in the front yard, but I would suggest ask for that variance. So the loading space, it's an existing nonconformity. The site does not have currently any loading space, and we are okay with that. The parking, as I said, and in my memo, I have even indicated that we looked at the historic imagery for a couple of years. There've never been more than 3 or 4 cars parked. So I would support the parking variance. And the monument to the firefighters, it triggers 2 variances. One, that it is within the front yard, and second is the side yard setback variance. It's closer than 25 feet. In terms of waivers, the first 2, accessible space and location of the driveway, are existing conditions. The third one, I believe we will be eliminating that if we remove that single parking space closer to the property line. So you would not need that waiver anymore. And that's pretty much it.
When you move the monument, is the utility issue, that phone company box there, going to have any problem?
No, I don't believe so. It does not impact.
Anything else, Ms. Sawant? Turn it back to you, Mr. Pape.
Thanks. I have nothing further of Ms. Totten. If acceptable at this time, we'll turn it over to Patricia Miziak-Peters, the applicant's architect. If we could have her sworn in, please.
Yes, ma'am. Can you raise your right hand, please? Do you swear affirm to testify truth in this matter before the board?
I do.
Thank you. And can we have your name, please?
Patricia Mijak Peters, MISYAK-PETERS.
Thank you, ma'am.
Could you please identify your professional and educational credentials for the board?
I am a New Jersey licensed architect. I have been licensed by the state of New Jersey since 1997.
You've testified before boards before, I'm sure.
I have, in fact, I have testified before this board for the Cheesequake Fire Department.
Okay. We accept your credentials.
Thank you. Are we able to pull up her exhibit? I know you brought exhibits. Would it be possible to pull up I think there were floor plans and elevations? Sure. You want to begin on the floor plans? You want cheat?
Yeah, the floor plan, let's start with the A1.
You need to talk in the
You have to- it's
1.3?
directional, yeah. It's directional. Yep.
Got it.
If you could begin just by reviewing for the board the floor plans and identifying the increase in square footage and just kind of an overview of what's being proposed.
Okay. For the first floor plan, the majority of the first floor remains as exists. We are adding an additional 20 feet out the front of the building that faces the main thoroughfare. That is to give us the increase that we need for the new fire trucks. The existing square footage of the first floor of the building is now 4,302 feet. We are proposing an increase of 1,853 square feet. So on the first floor, we will have a total of 6,155 square feet. The bays are in the front. There are 4 bays. We have an emergency egress stair that will accommodate the second floor, which we'll get to get down from the second floor out to the first floor. The back of the building is all existing. We have utility rooms here and here. We have a radio room. This is a meeting room, kind of a breakout room so that the firemen or the EMT that come from different locations sit and wait in case there's a call. Then we also have, this is the area where they dress. So this is where the firemen, when they come in, they grab their gear and they change. And this is the secondary staircase to the second floor. Can we go to the next floor plan? That's it. So again, the back half of the building is existing. This front half of the building is new. This is over the existing and partially the new fire bay. This is roof line here. So the existing square footage of the second floor is 1,853 square feet. We are adding an additional 2,352 square feet for a total of 3,516 square feet on the second floor. The addition for the second floor that we are doing encompasses 4 offices, some storage area, 2 bathrooms, a very small mechanical room, and then a conference room. They will be able to exit the building, the second floor of this space, through a stair to the first floor or by going outside. There is an existing egress staircase there now. It has not been well maintained, and that is the secondary means of egress for this existing meeting room. We are going to reconstruct that staircase, so that staircase will be used both for the office space and the conference room in the front that we are building new, and it will also accommodate the educational meeting room in the back. The meeting room in the back is for when the firemen come, basically for training. That's what it's used for the most. And none of the firemen now have a place where they can meet. They don't have any place in this existing building where they can have files, have a small one-on-one with another fireman. So that is the main purpose for that secondary space on the second floor.
If we could move to the elevations and have you describe for the board the aesthetics and materials and overall look of the finished product.
That would be good. So the existing building currently today is stucco. It's masonry. It's a masonry and wood building. It's stucco, and it has what we call the texture 111, which is a wood material. It's vertical. It's stained. We are going to maintain the stucco. It'll be up to the fire department to decide whether or not they want to keep it the color, which is an off-white now, or if they want to stain it red. And then we're just going to use residential style siding. So it'll be a vinyl siding on the building. The new roof over the front 20 feet of the bay, which you're not really going to be able to see from the ground, that'll be a metal roof because we have a very shallow pitch there. The rest of the roof will be asphalt shingles, the traditional style roof. We maintained the height of the building in the back, so the portion that is closest to the residential section, that is existing. We will be removing it and rebuilding it because it's structurally unsound. I actually crawled up there myself, and it's not pretty. So we will be redoing it, but we will be rebuilding it in kind. So it won't be any taller than it is, and we will tie the front of the addition into that back roof line.
Thank you. I have no further questions, but Ms. Yak-Peters is available to the board if there's any questions or comments.
Mr. What?
Ms. Peters, can we go back to the ground floor? I just want to see that where the new addition is. Yes, the ridges that are shown, they are the roof ridges, right?
No, those are actually the floor drains. So when the trucks come in, they need to be able to drip, and we need to separate. So we had, as Lorelei had testified, we have a problem with the water off the trucks actually fills into the radio room now. So we're going to be repitching that whole floor.
Okay, that's it. I don't have any further questions.
Start on my left, Mr. Scogno.
Thank you very much. The addition, you mentioned 20 feet you're going to add going towards Englishtown Road?
Yes.
So I'm going back now to the monument. The monument's going to be moved how far down? If the addition is 20 feet to the road, $15 feet? So it'll be behind the addition then? Even with, well, the utility, I'm sorry.
Well, Miss, you should just give her the microphone.
Natalie, can we put up the site plan?
So I apologize.
Okay.
The existing monument sign would end up being located right at the edge of the, my display's not up here anymore. Right at the edge of the addition. Oh, thank you. What do I press? So see, right there is where I'm shakingly showing you is the existing monument, and it's right at the edge of the outside of the addition. So it's going to be moved down. It is about 15 feet, or maybe 17 feet, so that it's still in front of, thank you, still in front of the addition.
And what about that utility box? Where are you with that?
The utility box is not moving.
No, I know that.
Yes.
But where will the monument be in place of that?
It's about 5 feet away.
But where will the monument be in place of that?
It's about 5 feet away.
5 feet back from that. So you'll probably be within the 20 feet. You won't be past it, from what I see.
Well, the utility box is only a few feet
The
off
monument
the property
looks
line.
like it's 10 feet wide.
It is big. It is
Yeah,
relatively
it's very big. And the flagpoles, we didn't discuss that. Are they moving?
2 of them would end up being at the edge of and behind the new addition. So they would be moved out so that one is going to be halfway between the utility box and the relocated monument, and the other one will be behind the relocated monument. And the third one is okay where it is. It's that heavy line that goes down there, that's a little further over there. That is a retaining wall because that ground is
Natalie,
higher than the ground
maybe
behind.
maneuver your cursor.
And
Yep.
yeah, and you can see the existing the existing circle is located right there. That's the existing pole that will stay. This is a small retaining wall of 1 to 2 feet because this ground slopes up to a wall that runs along the back here and then drops down to the property on the other side. And we're regrading this so it drains this way. So this little piece of curb needs to move and the monument would be in the way of the drainage, plus not fully visible any longer. And the same thing with the two
variances that I think are the important variances in this application are the 2D variances, technically called use variances, although they're not really related to the use itself. The use is permitted. The floor area ratio that's required in the ordinance, you're permitted up to 0.3 to 30% of the lot to be the floor area. And what's being proposed is 34%. So it's 0.04% over, 0.04 over what the ordinance would permit, 4% more. Quite frankly, if this were a fully conforming lot, a 1 acre lot, your floor area ratio would be half of what the ordinance permits. It'd be at 0.15. But because the lot is so undersized, this building does require the floor area ratio variance. And I think the general welfare is clearly advanced by the granting of this variance, because it's, as you've heard, it's necessary for the building to be enlarged in order to accommodate the newer equipment, the newer and larger trucks and equipment that's necessary for the firefighters. In addition, the floor area of the second floor, which would provide space for the firefighters to train and to meet and to exchange ideas, I think is very important. It's a situation where the firefighters are all volunteers. They're not professionals who have gone to school, had special training, extensive special training. I'm sure they've all had some special training, but not ongoing training. And this allows them to have a space where they can have ongoing training and keep up with the new equipment and keep up with the new processes and so on for firefighting. So I think there's really a compelling benefit in terms of advancing the general welfare and the public safety by allowing this addition to the building with that floor area ratio variance. I don't see any substantial negative impact. It's not going to increase the number of members that come to this site on a regular basis. It's simply going to make the site much more habitable, much more usable for the fire department. As far as the height of the building, again, the ordinance permits a maximum height of 30 feet, and what's being proposed here is a maximum height of 37 feet, and that technically, again, requires a D6 variance. And again, when you look at the reasons for that, the larger building, the higher building to accommodate the larger fire trucks, as well as the addition of space on the second floor to accommodate the space for the training, I think, again, that advances the general welfare. And when you look at the design of the building and the fact that it's not a flat-roofed building, it's a peak roof building, so not all of that building is above that 30-foot requirement, and it's a much more aesthetically pleasing building than the one that's there now. So I think there's definitely special reasons for the granting of those variances, and I don't see any substantial negative impact to it. Simply, in fact, there's one bulk variance, non-conforming condition, which in my 44 years as a planner, I have never come across, and that is the applicant is reducing the front yard setback along Englishtown Road, bringing the building closer to the road, and thereby eliminating a front yard setback variance. Because the ordinance has a maximum front yard setback. The building exceeds that maximum now by putting the addition on. it falls within the range of front yard setbacks that the ordinance establishes. So it actually eliminates one existing non-conforming variance. As far as the parking, I think you've heard testimony on the parking. I have no substantial concern about that. I think, again, the improvements to this site substantially outweigh any potential detriments of the shortage of parking, and there probably is not much of a detriment, if any, with regard to the shortage of parking that's being provided. Other than that, I don't think there's much else to say. I think it's all been covered. Location of the monuments in the side yard and with the front yard setback, and as Nina said, the whole purpose of those monuments and of the flagpoles is to provide a benefit and to provide public visibility of the structures on the site and what the site is, and actually to give recognition to past firefighters. So I think actually they're supposed to be in areas that are visible. So the more visible they are, I think the better it is from a planning and zoning standpoint. So when I look at all of these, I think there are special reasons for the granting of the variances, the D variances. I think there are positive reasons for the granting of the C variances, and I don't see any substantial negative impact.
Ms. Sawant.
I have no further questions.
Go to the board. Mr. Scogno? Mr. Stoner?
Nothing.
Mr. Connor? Ms. Andrews? You know, I would agree with you, and particularly when you're talking about the FAR, all of those lots in there historically are all undersized anyway, even in the residential areas. So,
That's correct.
And you've taught that lesson here before.
Yes.
about where houses could be built this way, but they couldn't be built exacerbating the FAR.
That's correct.
And you did it again tonight, so I paid attention anyway to you. I would agree with you wholeheartedly. This is necessary. I think it promotes the general welfare because we're putting people's lives on the line who are volunteers for the very community that they live in. And I was kind of shocked and almost taken back that the architect said that there's an area there that's unsafe, that a stairwell that's obviously not used but is unsafe. And we can't have that for volunteers. So anything that can be done to repair that and improve on that can only help the cause of volunteerism and make it far more safe for the men who have to go in there at ungodly hours of the night in all sorts of weather, in the darkness, and just coming out of bed. So certainly I would hope that however the details of this plan, it's in the best interest and safety of those men and women that give of their lives to volunteer for us. I haven't asked the fire marshal about the plan.
Thank you, Jim.
Welcome.
As you just stated, but this plan came together due to the fact of a lot of the buildings that this board has voted on for the last 15 years that I've been a fire official, and the planning board. The engines and the rescue that are in this building, along with a brush unit, they need an aerial truck because of Woodhaven, because of that 99 bridge. We already do own an aerial truck on Throckmorton Lane, but this firehouse, the engines in there now back up to the wall about 2 feet. So they barely got room to get behind them. The truck was already approved by the district voters. It's just sitting in limbo because we have to go through this process, and hopefully now we can move forward because the truck is needed. And, you know, it's pretty much everything. The monument was sticking past the building already, where we would stand in front of the bays to pay honor on Memorial Day. It's just moving a little forward past that. But, you know, it's something that we have to do. The building is right. They used to exit out the old building at the back end. 2 bays used to come out to Appleby Avenue. So that's part of the building is very, very old. So as the architect said, it is falling apart when you go in the attic. But other than that, Jim, you know, I hope favorable, you know, I'm glad everybody was able to meet to get this moving forward. But it's still got to take time. We're not going to be able to start this probably until the spring because we can't have the truck sitting out in the cold. So that becomes another challenge of flip-flopping. So I don't know if there's things that they might have to do because it might be delayed where you have to do it within the year. I don't know if they have to do something now, Vina, because of the weather. They definitely can never start, if they were all ready to go, they can't start until the spring. And then depending on how long it takes, with that whole year thing. So I don't know, it's just, we have to get people to watch them because they're going to have to sit outside. So I don't know if there's something we have to do now.
Acting as the fire marshal, you have no problem with the plan.
No, not at all.
Okay, and acting as the fireman, I know the importance and the object of having that monument there. That's for loyalty. That's for esprit de corps. That is what drives people in volunteerism. So that has to be out front where it can be seen, not only by the men, but by the community.
And the families.
Yes, absolutely.
I mean, to answer Chief's comment, the Planning Engineering Office will expedite any compliance reviews, so they can be submitted to our office, and we will definitely review them as quickly as possible. So I don't believe there should be any holdback from our offices, and we will offer full support.
Fire Marshal, I have one final question. When this is being built, seeing as people are watching at home and can watch this on YouTube, what's the assurance? How are they going to operate the fire company for the safety of the?
Basically, the building will not close. Where the locker room is, they'd still be able to get in it, where the gear is. The trucks would either be stored on the side of the building in a fenced-in area. We've done it when we had to do work in the bay floors. In the past, they have to stay outside for a month. And then we usually hire specials or auxiliary police to sit overnight and watch them.
The community's going to be safe. You're still going to be able to operate
Absolutely.
24/7
Right.
as you do now.
That's correct.
Anything else, Mr. Dastard?
Anything, Mr. Chairman, other than to add that you certainly heard the testimony about the positive and negative criteria, and this application certainly is about making the community safer. So there certainly isn't any stronger argument in terms of the benefit to the community than that.
Thank you, Mr. Dasty. Mr. Pape, do you have any other witnesses?
No.
Can I go to the public portion at this point?
Yes, please.
All right. This is matter 15-2022Z at South Old Volunteer Fire Company located 958 Englishtown Road. Looking for an expansion on the building, moving further out and adding some office space for training. If there is anyone here tonight in this courtroom that wants to be heard on this matter, please stand or raise your hand. Okay, the only people here are the professionals that have presented the application. I'm going to close the public portion. Final comments, Mr. Pape?
Just to reiterate what's already been said, I think this is an opportunity to make some upgrades to an older building, not only to make it more usable and safer, but also to accommodate the larger fire equipment that will allow the fire company to continue to provide these services to the community. And a final note, we do recognize there are only 5 voting members this evening, so if it's appropriate, and I'll defer to the board, would it be appropriate to poll the board?
What I'm going to do, I was going to do that for you because I was going to note that there are only 5 members here tonight, and I would like to know, as the chairman, if there's any issues that they need to deal with before we put this to or call for a vote here. And so I'm going to go by each one of you and ask, and please, I'd like you, because of the fact there's only 5 of us here, it will require all 5 affirmative votes because for a supermajority on the Ds. On the D4 and the D6. So I'm going to start with Mr. Scott. Do you have any issues with this?
No issues.
Mr. Stoner?
No issue.
Okay, Mr. Connor? And Ms. Andrews? Okay. That doesn't mean that they're necessarily going to vote that way, but they don't have any issues. So I'm going to take them at their word. I would assume you'd ask me to call for a vote at this point.
Yes, please.
Mr. Dasty, we have 2 D variances, one D4 for floor area ratio and then a D6 for the height. The D4 would have to pass first. Should that pass, we would continue on with the other vote and the bulk variances, right? Okay. Okay. You heard the testimony as to the D4. This went to 0.34, I believe, where 3-0 is acceptable. Is there anyone here who would move the D4 variance for approval?
I'll move it. Stoner.
Mr. Stoner has a move for approval. Is there a second?
Second, Connor?
Connor seconds. Roll call on D4, please.
Mr. Connor?
Yes.
Mr. Stoner?
Yes.
Mr. Scogno?
Yes.
Ms. Andrews?
Yes.
Chairman Sullivan?
Yes. As the D6 board, this has gone to 37 feet. I think where is 30? 30 feet required. Right, 30 required, going to 37. We realize, however, there's an apex on this, so this roof comes up like this. It's not a flat roof. Someone want to move the D6?
I'll move it. Stoner.
Is there a
Second,
second?
Scogno?
Scogno seconds. Roll call, please. D6.
Mr. Connor?
Yes.
Mr. Stoner?
Yes.
Mr. Scogno?
Yes.
Ms. Andrews?
Yes.
Chairman Sullivan?
Yes. The bulks, we have some Cs. We have, the design waivers were removed. Okay, so it's just, we just have the,
We don't have any design waivers because there was
Right.
2 existing and 1 new, but they have agreed to eliminate the new. So we have only variances.
and you were in total agreement with all the bulk variances anyway, correct?
Yes.
Can we move them as a block?
Yes, sir, you can.
All right. As to the bulk variances, I'm going to move them as a block. Is someone in favor of doing so? I will move them. Is there a second?
Second. Stoner.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Connor?
Yes.
Mr. Stoner?
Yes.
Mr. Scogno?
Yes.
Ms. Andrews?
Yes.
Chairman Sullivan?
Yes. Major preliminary site plan, and then final, correct? We'll do major preliminary first.
Connor, I'll move it.
Second. Stoner.
Moved in second. Roll call, please.
Mr. Connor?
Yes.
Mr. Stoner?
Yes.
Mr. Scogno?
Yes.
Ms. Andrews?
Yes.
Chairman Sullivan?
Yes. And finally, final site plan. I'll move it. Is there a second?
Connor, second.
Connor seconds. Roll call, please.
Mr. Connor?
Yes.
Mr. Stoner?
Yes.
Mr. Scogno?
Yes.
Ms. Andrews?
Yes.
Chairman Sullivan?
Volunteerism is tantamount to the safety of this community and the safety of all communities. We have to encourage more people to take part in their community, however it may be. And certainly firefighting is a hard one to get people to do. My vote is yes. I wish you the best of luck on your project.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Anything else? Thank you all for your appearance. Mr. Higgins, nice to see you again. It's nice your daughter let you go out and do some work every now and then, right?
All right. Thank you again.
Okay, good night to all the professionals. That brings us to a close. There is no one here in the public for general comments, but I'll entertain any if any of the board members have any. Mr. Scogno, any? No? No? Mr. Connor? Ms. Andrews? Ms. C., anything to bring up?
No.
Next meeting date? October 20.
This Thursday.
This
Board
Thursday.
members, just a reminder, it's a virtual meeting and it's Thursday.
Yes.
So we'll be at home. Yes, there is. So you can call, we'll call into the office.
Mr. Chairman, Brian's going to attend that one.
Very good. Fire Marshal, thanks for weighing in tonight on that. Best of luck. Somebody want to move for an adjournment? All in favor for adjournment?
Aye.
Signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We stand adjourned. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Best of luck.